Hi guys, welcome to the first of hopefully many videos on this channel. We're going to go through a couple of instructional videos. This is kind of the first one, and it's all about how to break down demos, whether that be your own or pro demos. Now, I did just see, I think it was Elige released one not too long ago. This video has actually been in the works or been on my mind for a while. And yeah, I guess I'm finally getting around to it a bit too late, but hopefully I can go over a couple of different things because I feel like the way that Elige broke it down, it's very much more team based, and I want to kind of go through a bit more what you want to do as a beginner or an individual, just kind of looking at demos and seeing what you want to watch out for. So first I'll go through the fundamentals, and then we'll find an example that I've got, or not find an example, but look at an example. So yeah, let's just go straight into it. So first, when you're looking at a demo, there are a couple of main things that you want to focus on as the fundamentals, so to speak, or what we're going to call them at least. So the first one is going to be the position. Hopefully I'll have something that pops up there. The second one is going to be game sense, and then the third one will be utility. So the first one is position, and this is probably the most important one, at least in my eyes. And position covers everything from your minimap awareness to your position compared to your teammates, the crossfires that you sit in, even the way that you transition from one spot to another. I'm kind of speaking about the CT side there, but on the T side, it includes things like your entry paths, how you're pushing a site together, the spacing between you and your teammates as you push the site, how you make contact with the enemies, how you're positioning yourself for success. But yeah, everything from moving to standing still is your position. Next is your game sense, and that's kind of where you look at rotations, whether you're getting caught off guard. If there's ever that moment that everyone's been through where you're running with your knife out and an enemy pops out, that will be playing into your game sense. It will be kind of looking at the demo and seeing where the players are positioned, and trying to read into or feel the game from your backseat perspective. So if you're watching one of your own demos back and you didn't rotate when there's lots of nades flying over the other site on the CT side, then that could play into your game sense, whether your teammates call it out or not. You can still take things to infer from, and it's really just kind of where you ask why every decision has been made, and that's kind of more important for the pro demos, but also looking at your own decision making, asking yourself why you're doing the things that you're doing, whether that be the timings that you're throwing nades at, the timings that you're falling back from, say, middle on Inferno, or at what point do you do certain things and make your decisions. And then finally, last but by no means least, is utility. So it's all about asking yourself whether the nades you're throwing are effective, or learning a couple of new lineups, or if there's a better way to throw a nade that lands faster, or lands a flash that lands deeper. And one more than that is the timings that you're throwing them at. Whether it's a pug or a team game, timings really do matter in CS. And if you're throwing a smoke just as a defensive smoke has been thrown, then obviously that's not going to match up with your timing. But maybe you can think about different ways to force utility out of your opponents. And yeah, just think about the game from that kind of perspective, because we've seen how impactful nades can be at the top level, but there's no reason why you can't have the same impact in your pug games. So yeah, that's kind of the fundamentals that we've broken down. Hopefully I'll have some infographics here for you to read through while I say this, but we'll see how good my editing is. A couple of notes that I did make from Elige's video that kind of branched off, and I wanted to say in this one, in case you haven't seen that, is when you go into a demo review, you want to have a clear goal, whether that be watching your own demos and looking at the utility usage, or watching your own demos and thinking about why you're doing the things you're doing, trying to improve your game set. Just try and have some clear goals that you want to look for, and try and take away from the demo review. Otherwise you're just kind of watching a demo to watch a demo, and you can just watch any cast to do that. You can also break the round down into sections. So if you're watching pro games, then they'll very often have, you know, opening setups, whether that be on T or CT side, and there'll be fallback options based on what happens in the map, whether there's picks or, you know, the utility that's been used. There's always going to be a fallback option, and even if there isn't, you can learn how they adjust to things on the fly. And then for pugs and kind of in general, like general matches, you want to focus more on the default rounds or the rifle rounds rather than, you know, gimmick rounds or like full smoke executes, unless you're in a team that's practicing them. And that's purely just because you want to try and make these demo watching sessions as efficient as possible. There's no point watching 5 demos, wasting 5 hours just you know, watching pro games and your own games and not really taking anything away from it. So yeah, focus on the rifle rounds and try and learn as much as you can, because that is the real meat of CS. By all means, don't ignore the eco rounds or ignore eco strats, especially if they're working, because that's definitely there's definitely things that you can pick up and put into your own game. But yeah, the demo that we're going to have a look today is actually a Mezzi breakdown, and this is well, at this point in time, I don't know if he's actually played with Fnatic yet on an official game, but this is, from my understanding, a kind of transitional period, so we'll see how well Mezzi can do in Fnatic. But this actual map is going to be the somewhat infamous Sinners versus Endpoint game. I think we're going to be going through Ancient first, but I don't know, we'll see. I might go through some other ones. And Mezzi had a phenomenal game this game, so hopefully there'll be a lot to learn other than just have really crispy aim. If I go through some stats, actually, he had a 1.46 rating, 76% on cast, and he had a really good T side, so hopefully we can learn quite a bit from Ancient T sides. We'll be going over both sides, you know, CT and T side, but I don't know if I'll be breaking them down into 2 separate videos. If it ends up being too long, then I'll definitely break it down just so it's easier for you guys to watch. So, when you're watching a demo, actually, one thing that I forgot to kind of mention is you should try and make notes. And whether you do that on a Word document like Elige or on pen and paper is up to you. I find it easiest on my little tablet here. It's called a Remarkable. It's kind of like a digital paperback tablet. I'm going to make my notes on here. I will try and share them with you afterwards. If it's, you know, easier to read on a Word document, though, I'll see if I can, you know, type it up a bit more clear for you guys so you can have a better look. So yeah, actually, while this night time's going down, Mezzi, he's shown, I think, in Cloud9, not really that there's some holes to fix, but that he's still getting used to the upper tiers of CS, but he's absolutely, you know, been dominant and shown that he's still got, you know, that talent that we were kind of expecting when he went to Cloud9. Hopefully we can see some of this come through onto Fnatic, and I'll be keeping a close eye on them, as I'm sure most of you will. Alright guys, let's hop straight into the game. Don't know what happened there, but we lost a little bit of the demo. Or not the demo, but rather the demo got a bit messed up. But yeah, we're going to see the pistol round. We can see, you know, now would be a good time to pause and note down the utility. So we're going to do exactly that. So we're going to note down they're sending... In fact, I'll let it play out a little bit more. Because I want to find out what setup they have. I want to find out what Mezzi's doing. And then from there we can... Okay, so this is how they wanted to start the round. So they've sent 2 short middle, they've sent 2 upper, and they've sent 1 to hold B. They have 1 smoke, or 2 smokes, 2 smokes, 1 flash and 1 molly, 1 flash and 1 molly. Okay, so let's see how they play the round out. It's really important, actually, to keep an eye on the minimap and see how the players... Oh, that's... It's always the hardest kills, or the easiest kills that are the hardest. But yeah. In fact, because Mezzi died so early, I think we're going to skip this round. And that's just for time efficiency. Obviously, you guys can choose to watch through pistol rounds and things like that. But yeah, I'm just going to skip through it this time. So you can see Sinners, they won pistol round. This is a big round, actually. It looks like Endpoint got the bomb down. You can see it was defused actually by looking at the scoreboard, and so they decided to reinvest here. So we'll give it a minute to see what their start setup is. I'm gonna not respect the smoke or the molly there, and he's gonna molly deep actually. Okay, all right, we'll we'll watch through this one. So I'll make a note of that actually in the meantime. So 2 pushed B to cave with a molly. 2 push B to cave with a molly. There's 2 short middle with the bomb and 1 holding A. So very similar to the pistol round, not quite the same. And actually that molly will early, like, give an early signification to Sinners that Endpoint have bought up. So we'll see how they adjust. You can see they clear it together, leaving the door open actually. So, and then they 4-man clear middle after smoking. So we'll make a little branch from there and say 4-man clear middle. Let's resume and see how this round plays out. I think we did get a bit of a spoiler earlier, so I think Endpoint do win this, but Mezzi's going to push through the smoke. There's no flash behind it, so they're just lurking through it. There's 3 players, in fact. He's going to entry up. Okay, I think they did that because of the lack of middle control that Sinners went for. That's actually a really clean round. All right, so after they've cleared middle, we'll make another branch, and this is kind of telling the story of the round, to see the decisions that they make. But yeah, we could skip this one because it's a deagle round, but if you're just starting out, I would suggest watching these and kind of keeping an eye on the minimap. But also, one really important thing is how they use their utility and the positions that they play. So it looks like this is going to be another 2B. Oh no, it's just him on his own. Okay, so we're going to make a new section. He's solo B side. And the reason that we're making these distinctions is so that when we're stuck in these situations, or when we find ourselves in these situations rather, we can kind of learn from and take elements of these plays. We don't have to copy them outright, obviously. But yeah, seeing how these players approach things is a really good way to kind of grow and learn how to play around the map. And then throw that exact same molly in tunnels. And like I'm saying, guys, it's probably a bit cleaner to do it in Word document, but I never go back and read Word documents. So I'm going to make a couple of like messy notes here and there. I'm not really going to tidy anything up, and that's just because I want you guys to see it how I see it. Obviously, if you're making these notes as a actual coach, or like for better learning, you probably want to tidy them up. You can color code them like I saw Elige do, and reword them to make them more concise. But whatever works for you, just make the notes that you need to make, and you can look back at them and hopefully retain that information. And that's really what we're doing. Now, one thing that you guys might not think is that important is the context of these rounds, and the context does matter, which is why I'm making a note of the buys that we're working with. So I've noted down he's got a Mac 10 versus a deco, and that will affect everything from his crosshair placement to the way that he clears places. He might opt to jump clear places. It looks like he's semi-lurking with a Mac 10 here. But yeah, it does seem like Endpoint are leaning towards this A kind of setup after learning the deco and clearing out middle. So we'll just make a note of that kind of. When I say make a branch, it's like a little arrow, and that denotes that we're in the same round, but we're following on from what's just happened. And that can kind of, when we're looking back, it can help us look into the pathing and the way that the rounds have broken down. So we can say joins middle clear and lurks short mid. Now, during these kinds of moments in your own game, it would be wise of you to think, you know, is there any way that I could be helping out the team a little bit more here, or is there something that I could be doing differently? And look, that's not calling any like shade onto Mezzi or anything. You know, obviously these guys are playing in a team and they know how to play around each other. And he probably wants to go hunting with the Mac 10, to be fair. But I just wanted to, you know, take this moment of a slow period where I could probably skip this actually. But yeah, it's worth just like making notes of your own games, especially where you guys are playing, and if there's a better decision that you could be making. So we'll we can see that Endpoint actually did win the round. Sinners were able to save 2, so Mezzi not getting the most done out of the hunt. But he's going to keep the Mac 10, realizing that this is an eco round. And actually, I'm going to skip this. You're not really going to gain the most from this. You're either going to see, you know, the pistols do some work, or the rifles clean up. You can see Endpoint, they did clean up, in fact. And the only reason you'd watch those kinds of rounds is if you're not sure what to do on an eco yourself. So you could see Sinners, they pushed, I think, 4 men through Donut there. That's definitely something you could take into your own game. But like I said, for general purposes, we're just going to focus on the gun rounds. And this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It is the first quasi gun round of the half. Okay, that's an adjustment right there. Okay, and you can see that Thomas is the one that's going to molly Kate. That could be a thing to do with the spawns there. Okay, I'll just pause, in fact. So you can see Endpoint lost there. It was another 2B round, so we're going to put this bullet point under the 2B section, if you will. Let me just move things around. And I would say it's definitely easier making these notes digitally, because you can always add more space, whereas if you're doing this by hand, it's very broken up. Whether they're doing 2B, 1B, whatever, like you're obviously going to have trouble estimating the perfect amount of space you need. You know, you kind of take what you can from these. Now this is probably the big gun round, you know, the kind of all the bells and whistles that we like talking about as a caster. And yeah, we'll see what he does. Looks like he's not going towards B this round. There's going to be Thomas setting up on that side. They're going to push towards short middle. He smokes for his teammate with the AWP. They throw the Lara smoke to push off any aggressions. And actually, there was a smoke middle. I missed that. So just before he makes contact, I'm going to note down what happened there. So we're going to be using a new section, short middle, times 4, and then in brackets I'll make the 1 lurk B note. So yeah, in that bullet point we're going to say 4-man, and I'm not going to call it a push, like a rush. I'm going to call it a press, and that's because they had the option to cancel that one. And I say that because of the smoke onto the Molotov. You know, they weren't necessarily gunning to force that play out. They were just looking to press that area, push together, and see what they can get. So they're going to 4-man, press, and then I'm going to make a note of the smokes that we used. So a nest smoke, and that was the smoke top middle towards Sniper's Nest, and a Lara smoke. Forgive me if I'm using the wrong callouts and stuff. It's been a hot minute since I've casted a game of Ancient, and took a little break to finish up my degree. So as we come back into things, I'll obviously adjust to what the current meta is. But yeah, a good thing to note about the pathing here is, you know, you can talk about the smoking of the Molotov. I don't think it's the biggest deal. It's just one of the things that you can kind of add to your mental toolbox, or you can absolutely make a note of that. If you've got, you know, a friend that's an AWPer or something that you want to have this set play with. But one thing I am going to make a note of is their pathing. So they swing together from short to upper boxes. And that's important because they've kind of ended up in the same place that they did on their, you know, 2B default, but all just pushing through short together. And it's a different look that Sinners are seeing. There's not going to be that cave Molotov, so despite them getting the same kind of map control, to Sinners, it kind of feels like a different strat, and they might, you know, over rotate or rotate in a way that benefits endpoint. Now they are gonna fall to A tunnels. And they just throw a nice exec out. So one thing actually that I would recommend if you're just starting out, or if you're a bit of a lower rank, is look through these different players when they're throwing this, and, you know, see what bits of utility they're throwing, because they could be slightly different to the ones that you know. Or if you don't know anything that they've thrown, absolutely go back and look at how they throw it. You know what, we'll do a little bit of that. Yeah, look back at how they throw it, and you might be able to learn a thing or two, you know, about a safer setup to throw a Molotov, or, you know, a pair of Molotovs that works well together. Now, obviously, the demo system isn't the best, and for a couple of these execs, actually, I do want to go through on Skybox, and I'll break down some of these executes if that's something that you guys want. So yeah, you can see them walking up now. Okay. Right here's where I'm going to pause. Now you can see Mighty Max and Surreal are the ones throwing the utility. So Mighty Max is going to throw one that gets the first arch of Temple. And then you can see, I'm interested to see where this one lands. I think it's behind sight. Yeah. But there's two mollies that you can throw into your own game. I'm going to pause right here and throw it back to Mezzi. Did get the opener there. So this is important actually. From those Molotovs and the smoke that's been thrown down, they've decided to push straight through to tunnels. To Temple. And we'll see how they post plant set up here. Surreal sets up in the Temple. Mezzi's going to hold back, and then Crucial on the AWP, he's just going to float around the A tunnels area. There we go. They've won the trades that they need to. Oscar should be saving here, and so this is where I'm going to pause, make my notes, and then skip the round. So skip the rounds. So yeah, talking about end game, they push to Temple early before the lane smoke pops. And you can see that was effective, you know, just thinking back, because they were trying to catch Sinners a little bit off guard, and see what they could, you know, get away with in terms of space, you know, pushing two men across. Yeah, like I said, you can absolutely choose to watch these games or not, or sorry, these rounds. It's up to you, but just for time efficiency, you know, the way that I do things is I just want to look at the rifle runs, because that's really where the meat and bones of CS is. It's interesting to see, you know, the first 10 seconds of a round, to see what the game plan was on an eco. But yeah, what you're going to gain from an eco isn't really the same as a rifle round, where you can learn, you know, utility, positioning, entry routes, and game sense and stuff like that. Okay, so we are looking at another gun round here. Mezzi, he's not having the hottest game so far, but well, we already know he warms it into it quite well. Okay, where does that smoke land? The efficient way to do this would probably be to watch the round out first and then go back you know, round by round, not necessarily at the end, but of the demo, but at the end of the round to go back to the start of the round with the little button there and watch through the nades that you want to see. Okay, so I figured it out. It is left alt and it is the B tunnels nade. So you can see that after throwing that nade, they're going to put some pressure on ramp, and crucially even goes for a pick, but he gets taken out by Neofrag. Mezzi's then just going to flash for his teammate, but doesn't work out. This is a kind of dire situation to be in. Endpoint have kind of fallen at every single entry that they wanted to get, even losing one player towards A, so yeah. So 3B, there's the AWP peak ramp with re-peak to trade with flash. See how this round develops. He's aware of someone being close on ramp, but he's going to concede that area. Probably Mighty Max is pulling him back to try and pressure A or something. They have 2 Molotovs and a flash. Now, one question that you could be asking yourself is, why is he walking here? Well, you can see he doesn't know whether there's a player in Donut. There was for a period of time. There isn't anymore. So yeah, that's why he walked. He's going to flash for that entry against the AWP. That's a nice first entry. I think this might be the infamous ace. He taps one down at the back of sight. And the way that he's swinging, because he's killed 2 players, he's kind of leaving an opening at Temple. Oh, okay, that's... I forgot how nasty these shots were. With the time though, he's just going to have to plant. Here's a player. That's a nice swing. And even the pre-fire. Yeah, so that's... there's so much to unpack from that round if we just pause it. Let me find my mouse. Right. So in that round, after, you know, his teammate falls, he's right there for the, you know, trade. But because he's not in a close enough spacing, or because he's not prepared to trade, what he has to do is flash out. You can learn that flash if you're trying to entry for yourself. Swings, commits behind it, gets the first, taps down the second, and then because he knows he's got a little bit of space to work with, he gets to Temple, takes one down in Donut, and then the rest is, you know, just played out as you saw. So really good play from him. And there's a lot to learn from that as well. Even looking at the crosshair placement, you know, it's a good idea to see how he's adjusting to the info that he's getting and the kind of game sense that he's playing around with. See if we can skip ahead past this. Okay, so it is a deco. I guess we'll watch the start of it to see how Sinners and Endpoint play around this, because I'm sure Endpoint will know. There's going to be the middle smoke, and there's going to be 3B, but late. So we can make a note of that. So there's a bit of a game sense spray, but I'll make this under the 3B. So smoke nest. You know what? My notes aren't perfect, but there's always more that we can learn. And better ways for us to note things down. So 1 time smoke nest, and then 2 remaining hold ramp and cave with a cave molly. Now I'm not gonna note down necessarily this smoke or the adjustment that he made. Actually, I'm not gonna note down the smoke, but I might if there's an important adjustment. Now the only reason that they're going for this is because of the fact that they've lost 2 towards like the other side of the map. So just go straight in for the B, and that's, you know, a bit of game sense that you can pick up if you wanted to write it down. Actually, it's an important adjustment, so we'll just make a branch and say after losing 2 towards A, they push B with some flashes and close off bedroom with a molly. And that's just to give them enough space to plant. Obviously, you can throw the different smokes and stuff that you want, but it's important to, you know, look at the decision to do that and think, okay, why have they mollied bedroom? Why have they smoked it afterwards? And why have they pushed round to the long side of back B? And it's just, you know, you can see how it's worked out. This is a really good crossfire they've set up. And they're kind of letting Sinners come to them as well. So you can make a note of that. So we can see, again, it's another 3B. You can see that these teams have, you know, kind of home shots they like to go for. Oh, they're going to push behind that. So that's a big adjustment. And that's kind of something that we can talk about in terms of conditioning. So very regularly, Endpoint have been, you know, free or willing to give up this control. Just throwing a molly and then like working up middle. But this one, they don't have any middle presence. This round, they're committing off that because Sinners have thrown that molly. I don't know if this was predetermined, if they were going to do this weather neofrag through that molly or whatnot. But yeah, they're going to go for a quick B control, cave control rather. So 2 times quick push cave with molly. And then after they've got this opening pick, you know, if this was, you know, planned out beforehand, they might go for a little bit of earlier aggression to try and force some utility out or get a trade. But yeah, they're happy just to sit back with this man advantage and see what the adjustment from Sinners is. We're going to see there's not really much to speak of, so they're going to fall back and clear middle. I don't know what just happened.
There's only one alive.
Yeah, Tom. I don't know what's going on.
I'm not in TS.
Well, there's not really much you can speak of. I'll make a note, I guess, of they go back to middle control and then skip this round. Because again, there's not really much that you can gain from a round like that. That's a shame to see, to be honest. I don't like seeing that, but c'est la vie. C'est la vie. Should be getting the players in. Oh, there we go. All right, they are going to force it behind the AWP. So this is actually an important round to consider. Feel like it's going to be another 3B round, so I'll get ready to make my notes. They're going to commit to putting pressure on this cave area. He has to smoke himself out because he's trapped between 2 mollies. Actually, the nade usage from Sinners is pretty good. Neofrag is even able to push out, and because of this lack of upper control, you can see they're very hesitant to push out short Endpoint R. Okay, so there's a flash for inside if you want to support your teammates. You can see Endpoint, they're going to stick with their game plan, flashing themselves through, so I'll make a note of that to hold cave push and move to take middle after smoke dissipates. Yeah, I apologize if my handwriting isn't the easiest to read, but we'll work with what we've got. You can see they've got their classic top mid and Lara smoke, so that's probably something you should note down. So they have a nest smoke and Lara or donut smoke. I will try and keep my notes consistent, but not perfect. Alright, they lose one in middle. Mezzi's job here, though, is to make sure he doesn't get caught out and he just holds this map control, because as long as they have cave control, they can pincer this B site. There's a step given away from Surreal. I don't think that was intentional, but it's info that can be passed on to Sinners. They're going to commit behind it nonetheless. There's a smoke for short B. And a flash. They push out together. And he spots out B stick. Alright. Alright, let's make a branch. They get a lurking sniper's nest. And then ×2 push through bedroom. Swinging B after short B smoke and a flash. Hopefully you guys can read that one okay, but I'm sure I'll get some criticism later onwards. And because of the lurk that they've got, They do try and push through behind B, just kind of relying on like that they'll retain that map control. And they're going to go for a similar setup to the one that we saw earlier. So you can make a note of this as a post plant. I'll call it PP for post plant. Long B and cubby. Crossfire. I'm going to apologize again because I know my handwriting isn't the best, but these notes are usually just for me. So as long as I can read it, I don't really care. I'd say the same is important for you guys, but feel free to type it up and do all pretty color coding things. Let's see if Sinner's buy up. I think the semi-buy. It's not the biggest deal to watch this. We'll watch the first little bit. They're going to do the 2B setup this time. So you can put this in the 2B section. Okay, well, that one was shut down early. But yeah, let's move to the next gun round. Apologies if you guys did want to watch, you know, all the rounds through and try and pick up some analysis. In general, I'd say, you know, it's best to kind of pick players who you know play similar spots or you know have a good set of utility usage. That's a spawn smoke for Sniper's Nest. Okay, so we're gonna go for another 4 short push. We saw this earlier. Yeah, and Shock just gets overwhelmed there. You can see the entry part thing. Okay, well, you can see that if you see my mouse here, they go straight from short with a flash and a smoke here and a smoke here. They just swing across and, you know, try and take one pick here, or if they're pushing for the smoke, because losing middle is a bit like losing middle on cash, where the CTs will often try and contest it early, but they really can't afford to hold on to it late round. And if they do, it's fairly easy to shut out. But if you go for a quick middle aggression, especially when you think that they're going to be on a bit of a lower utility situation, then it can be a very good idea to do this kind of thing. This is going to look really messy for you guys, so I'm just going to apologize in advance. So there's 4 men pushing middle, 4-man press again, and you can just make short form notes if you're, you know, aware of the smokes. So with same smokes and flashes, and you know, you can read into that a little bit more. So say if they use 2 smokes and, you know, a couple of flashes, you know, why didn't they choose to molly off the right side and middle? And you know, the pure answer to that is because they've got so many numbers pushing out, they can just trade out. But yeah, you know, it's always important to consider these things as you're watching these pro games and the decisions that they're making. You can see again, there's a cave smoke, and they're fairly conscious of it because Thomas wasn't able to see if anyone actually pushed out into it. So they're going to be fairly content with just sitting behind this. There's a ramp push that's been eliminated, and they're fairly wary of cave because you don't really get a push like that without something backing it or a trade. But Crucial hits a nice shot, and they're in a 1 versus X situation. So the notes we can make following on, so they wait for a cave smoke and push B together. I'm going to assume that they were set up for something like a 4-1 or like a 4-2. If, you know, things went perfectly. So I'm just going to write like ×4 in bedroom. And it's always important to look at how they adapt to these things, because with Thomas going down, he was probably going to smoke the short side, but there's only 1 player left. So they're taking things slow and playing things cautious, but also using a bit of, you know, extra nades that they perhaps wouldn't. That's a nice molly to learn. I think they heard him. Yeah. Well, they'll win the round nonetheless, so we can skip ahead. In fact, we can skip ahead a round. Well, it's important actually for you guys, I want to mention that you're not just watching these rounds and making notes, that you're like fully sinking in with the decisions that have been made. You know, learning everything that you can about crosshair placement, utility usage. You know, there's an opening flash and molly combo that you can use. and really considering why they're doing what they're doing, because there's no point copying them if you don't have any method behind the madness. You know, there's obviously a game plan here. Bit of a missed flash there, but yeah, there's obviously a game plan here that they're trying to execute, and it's important to consider why and how they're doing things, because if you can understand that, then you're almost halfway onto, you know, learning what you need to learn to get better for your own sake. So, you know, it was another 3B round here with an alt pick on ramp. So we'll make a note of a 2 times like outside cave hold into AWP boost pick. Now, my editing skills aren't the best, so I will try and have these popped up somewhere. But if I don't, there will be a document down below or something where you can see my notes and match it up round by round. It'll be a bit harder to follow because it's not going to be necessarily chronological. It will be dispersed according to the setup, but yeah. See Mezzi's right there to trade if Crucial goes down. They decide to go for the boosted alt pick again. It's not necessarily ill-advised because there was an opportunity to get something there. Doesn't work out for them in the end, but you can see the adjustment. They were pushing one into bedroom. Mezzi was rotating back with the bomb, so that makes me think they were going to try and get bedroom control, work off that, and perhaps go for an A split late after showing some presence. But honestly, in these late round scenarios, you're just learning more about the decisions that they're making and why. Okay, Mezzi made a step there, so you can see Neofrag, he's able to just rotate off that info. And that's why giving info to your teammates is so critical in these clutch rounds. You know, it's all well and good, you know, concentrating on your area of the map and having good aim. But if you're not able to get your teammates rotating in, then there's no point. So there's a smoke for lane. It's going to miss. And yeah, unfortunate there for Mezzi. We'll skip ahead. Through a lot of these rounds, like we skipped quite a few, and that's just because Endpoint did a really good job of managing the economy of their opponent's CT side and making sure that they're pressuring them on the verge of being broken, like for most of that half, I think. So it was a strong half, you know, especially on the T side of Ancient. There's a lot to learn there. You know, you could probably watch a demo back 2 or 3 times and pick up something that you missed last time, but yeah, I guess we'll hop into the CT side. I'll record it all in one go. If I decide to chop it up, it gets chopped up. In fact, at the end of that half, the first half on the T side, Mezzi went 12 and 6, so 2 KD, 78 ADR, but it looked like Surreal had a stellar T half. Yeah, it's pretty good across the board, to be honest. Yeah, you might want to perhaps look at Mighty Max's flash usage there. Any player that has above 20 effective flashes and a good bit of utility damage, it's always worth just going back, looking at the nades they threw and at what timing. And you're looking at the timing not just for, you know, copying that timing, but also looking at what they're looking for at that timing. It could just be a straight up timing throw like Astralis used to do on Overpass. But yeah, just trying to learn about when to throw that nade. Hey guys, I realized I didn't record an outro, so leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment down below if you've got any feedback, improvements, or what you want to see next. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.